Welcome to another explainer where we are going to completely dismantle your everyday assumptions about what is absolutely real. Seriously, if you've ever felt like the rules governing our world are incredibly solid and naturally occurring, well, get ready to have that foundation entirely shaken. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating concept called the architecture of the unreal. We're going to explore how almost everything that dictates your day-to-day life is essentially a synthetic construct. I want you to take a second and really look around at your own reality right now. Think about the rules you follow, the math that runs your smartphone, the profound sense of justice that guides your morality. What if none of those things actually exist out there in nature? The source material we're unpacking today suggests something wild. The laws governing human life might just be a manufactured illusion. They're a highly effective cognitive interface we've built for ourselves, rather than fundamental objective truths of the universe. And this brings us to the core, completely mind-bending shock of our source material, a real ontological shock about the very nature of being. It's the realization that the physical substrate is the only true reality. Think about it. When you strip away all of human perception, all of our intelligence and our layers of interpretation, what's left? You are left with the physical materials used to record thought. In this framework, reality is strictly limited to the tangible. It is literally just the paper and the ink. The whole shebang outside of that, it's just something we project onto it. All right, let's jump straight into part one, the boundary of existence, substrate versus layer. To really grasp this boundary, think of a printed page. The physical persistence of the paper and the raw ink splatters on it, that is physical reality. That's the substrate. But the exact moment you look at those splatters and your brain sees numbers, letters, or maybe a triangle, you've crossed over into the human lens. Those symbols aren't inherent to the paper at all. We assign them entirely arbitrary meaning just to organize the chaos around us. Which leads us right into part two, logic manufacturing, building reasoning. See, if concepts like logic aren't actually found in nature, we have to look at how we are actively building reasoning. We usually treat logic like it's some cosmic law just waiting to be discovered, right? But the sources argue it's actually a highly engineered product of human cognition. In fact, logic is formally defined here not as a universal truth, but literally as an industrial engine of the mind. It's a manufacturing process designed to take specific inputs and churn out specific outputs. Just like a factory takes raw steel and spits out a sedan, the human mind takes abstract rules and processes them to generate complex reasoning. It's entirely artificial and entirely human. So here is exactly how that mental assembly line works. Step 1, the inputs. You feed paper definitions and manipulation rules into the system. Step 2, the process. The logic engine runs these procedural protocols. And finally, step 3, the output. It manufactures what we so confidently call mathematics or truth. Math isn't magic, folks. It's the pure, manufactured result of symbolic manipulation. And here is the real kicker. That means our most objective, rock-solid certainties are actually completely volatile. Because truth is just an output of a specific logic engine, it possesses inherent instability. Think about it. If you change the input definitions or tweak the rules of manipulation, the mathematical truth completely shifts. It is not a cosmic constant at all. It's a programmable variable entirely dependent on the symbolic inputs we feed into the machine. Now that we've got our manufactured truth, we arrive at part 3. The hierarchy of fictions, stack-in concepts. We take that base layer of mathematics, and we start stacking more and more complex concepts on top of it, creating this massive scaffolding of unrealities to dictate how society functions. Notice how, as we move from math to physics and finally all the way to justice, each concept drifts further and further away from physical reality. Math is an abstraction directly tied to our rules. Physics is an applied layer drafted to describe the perceived world. But justice? That is a maximum distance abstraction. It is entirely decoupled from physical matter. And that leads to a pretty startling realization. Justice, the literal core of our moral compass, is not a physical object or a natural law. It is an emotional response. It's a feeling, triggered entirely by human-made documents. Think about the pure, visceral, emotional devastation of finding a parking ticket on your windshield. It is literally just a tiny piece of paper with some ink on it, but it ruins your entire day. We dedicate our lives to a concept that exists purely in our neuro-emotional response layer, miles and miles away from the physical ink on the page. This brings up a massive question for part 4. Organizing the world. Why invent the unreal? Why do we lie to ourselves and build these elaborate fake structures in the first place if they have absolutely no basis in physical reality? Well, we do it for pure survival. These mind-engineered concepts are completely essential for our daily operation. Without the cognitive technology of symbols and laws, human existence would be absolutely crushed by the sheer noise and latency of raw sensory input. The world is incredibly chaotic, so these paper concepts act as our necessary mental scaffolding. Ultimately, these functional fictions provide the framework we need to synthesize our environment. We require them to reconcile the incredible depth of our internal human experience with the cold, flat reality of the physical page. They might never transcend being mere abstractions, but make no mistake, they are the indispensable tools we use to navigate the universe. Which leaves us in part 5. A dual-layer existence, substrate and synthetic. We're left navigating this profound everyday paradox. We are steered by deeply abstract feelings like justice, governed by totally synthetic frameworks like law, yet we remain entirely anchored by the physical substrate. No matter the weight of human laws, no matter the beauty of our mathematics, or the depth of our philosophical reasoning, a cold architectural audit reveals that the absolute reality always returns to the paper and the ink. The tangible recording medium is the ultimate ground truth. Everything else is just a sophisticated symbolic tool. Which leads us to a massive, totally destabilizing thought. Reality is strictly limited to that physical substrate. We chop the universe up into parts using our invented numbers and words, but if we strip all of that away, maybe there is no separation at all. Maybe, fundamentally, existence is just the number one single undivided object. We are, in essence, architects of the unreal. We're trying to impose order on a vast, unfathomable cosmos using tools that literally only exist inside our own heads. Reality itself exists independently of us, sure, but everything we say about it, everything we think we know about it, that's just us interpreting our own paper and ink. We're just reading the blueprints we wrote ourselves. So I want you to really think about that question the next time you look at a legal document, a math equation, or honestly, even just a simple piece of blank paper. If our logic and our deepest truths are just a manufacturing process, what fundamental properties of reality are slipping right through the cracks of our cognitive interface? What are we missing? That is a question that might just change everything you thought you knew. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the framework.